Hi, my name is Jay. I'm a career consultant with SOAS Career Service. And for this webinar today, I'm going to be talking through internships and part-time work and what we offer at SOAS. So just to give you an overview of what we will cover, today's content will look at part-time work opportunities, internships, what we as SOAS Career Service offer for our students, and in particular how we support students. What I wanted to quickly talk about is a model that we use in our career service, which we call your career journey. The point of this model is to help us understand where you are in your journey, what you've thought about so far in relation to your career, and what your next steps are, and that helps us to support you through the whole cycle and identify opportunities, give you the right kind of information, run the right types of appointments, and hopefully help you succeed in getting the career that you want. When we talk about part-time work and internships, of the three segments that you can see, predominantly you would be looking at discovering and decide in terms of exploring what those options would be relating to any type of work experience, but particularly in this case to part-time work and internships. The second segment in goals, which is plan and do, is where you would look at the kind of information and more relevant opportunities that are both interesting to you and as part of your plan for your longer term goal, ones that you think are going to help you develop the right skills or gain the right kind of experience. And the final segment in apply and succeed is where we help you to apply for whichever roles that you are interested in, going through the recruitment process for each of those roles, and ultimately succeeding in securing whichever opportunity it is and taking on that experience. So to give you a definition of part-time work, at SOAS it is a maximum of 20 hours per week during term time. Part-time work can be fixed term, permanent or temporary. So by that we mean that you could have a part-time job that you do just for a short period of time, so that might be fixed term or even temporary, or you could have one that is a open-ended contract, which means that there's no clear end date, but you're just working a small number of hours, as in less than 20 hours per week. How you work part-time can range from doing 2 full days a week, for example, or it might be doing 5 days, but maybe just 3 or 4 hours on each of those 5 days, or just simply weekend work. So there's no fixed form of what part-time work is. It really comes down to the amount of hours that you're going to be working. Most importantly, it relates to any sector and type of role. When you're a student, most sectors that are going to be looking for students as part-time employees will be things like the retail sector, potentially hospitality, but there's also things like research roles in universities or with small charities. There will be a whole host of opportunities that are advertised for part-time roles, and ultimately it comes down to being able to find what's right for you, and hopefully not just right in terms of what you want to do, but also in terms of how it fits with your life at university. There is a slight difference between part-time works and an internship. So just to give you an overview of what an internship is a fixed period of work with an organisation. They can be full-time, they can also be part-time. Again, it relates to any sector. The difference, which is quite a clear distinction, is an internship is not a permanent type of role. So quite often somebody might do an internship to gain experience over summer, or when they have graduated, they may do an internship and that then become a permanent member of staff. There is a difference between being an intern for 3 or 6 months and then becoming a full-time paid member of staff, because at that point you're not an intern, you're a full employee. And whilst there are a lot of different myths out there about what an internship is, a couple of things that I wanted to clarify really. SOAS Career Service, we only advertise paid internships, and the employers that we work with usually set a project brief, and that will be over 2-3 months or longer for that internship. So interns will get a really valuable experience out of this. It's not any of those old cliches of making tea, coffee, and doing photocopying. It's actually a really valuable piece of experience that both the employers value in terms of having an intern in their workplace, but for each of the interns, what they can then take away from those experiences and build on. It gives them a lot of opportunities and also a lot to talk about when they are looking at other opportunities for after graduation, for example. So when we talk about internships, part-time work, and these kind of work experiences, SOAS's career service offers a few different things which are resources to help you identify these roles. I've brought a page up which is My SOAS Student, and in particular the careers page on this. So when you're a student at SOAS, this is a web page that you'll become familiar with. And as you can see on this page, there's a few different things on the left-hand side, which are things like start thinking, career planning, so that fits with that career journey I introduced at the beginning. And we've got work experience there, employer events, and even information specifically designed for international students. So on the right-hand side, under quick links, I just want to draw your attention to a couple of the links that I will talk through in a little bit more detail. The top two, SOAS's Jobs Online and then SOAS's Internships, are probably the most relevant for what we're talking about today. So in terms of both Jobs Online and Internships, these are spaces that we use online to advertise the opportunities directly to students. But then there's also other information under the other quick links, such as careers by sector on Moodle, which has got links to jobs boards that are specific to different sectors, for example, recruitment agencies, and also information resources. Careers Tagged is a little bit of a search engine that's been designed by the University of London, which brings together a lot of different information around careers. And it's a really good resource if you're looking to start thinking about what you want to do. And then Prospects at the bottom is a particularly useful one if you're looking at what your options might be, either what can I do with my degree, or what could I do that interests me. So they've got a couple of quizzes that will give you some ideas once they've asked you some questions. So these are just a few of the things. Like I said, we're going to focus on Jobs Online and we're going to focus on SOAS Internships now. So I've got a couple of images here. The one on the left is our internships page, which was taken from a couple of weeks back in February 2017. And the one on the right is our Jobs Online. So just to give you a quick overview, the SOAS Internships page is one that is managed within SOAS's career service. As you can see there, we only offer opportunities to our students that are paid at least the national minimum wage, and quite often it will be the London living wage. And each of these are paid internships, which will be updated on a weekly basis with a lot of fantastic organisations. They're not all based in the UK or indeed in London. Some of these are based internationally, but predominantly they will be based in the UK because of the nature of the employers that we work with. And at any one time, there could be at least 20 or 30 internships advertised on this. So there will always be some opportunities that we're advertising on our internships pages. Because of what SOAS teaches in terms of its degrees and also what interests our students have, the mix of roles will reflect those interests. So hopefully there should be opportunities for anybody that's looking to do an internship whilst they're studying at SOAS. And if you have got particular interests, then when you do start with SOAS, let us know, come and have a chat with us, and we can see how we can help you target those employers and if we can work with them as well. On the right-hand side is Jobs Online. So Jobs Online is something that the University of London has developed, and it is a job site that has roles advertised which target undergraduate, postgraduate and PhD level students and graduates. So there'll be a lot that's relevant and advertised on here. There's a few little filters. So as you can see lower down on the right hand side, there's a part-time filter and there's also an internship filter. So you could do a search on here for part-time roles or internships and see what's advertised. Because this is University of London rather than solely SOAS, the range of roles will be a lot wider. That means that you will find things that might not apply to the degree that you study or even what we teach at SOAS. But the other side of that is you will also find opportunities that we won't necessarily have exclusively to SOAS. So it's a brilliant resource for you to have a look at, particularly the part-time work. It's a great place where a range of part-time roles are advertised, and a lot of these are very student-friendly in terms of the hours that they're looking for students to work and the locations close by within London. So This is a really good resource in terms of the advertised roles, and it's updated on a daily basis. So the range of things that are advertised on there, not just part-time and internship roles, but things like volunteering, also graduate opportunities, will give you a real sense of what you could do after you've graduated, as well as whilst you're studying at SOAS. So alongside both of those resources, I just want to talk through a little bit of what SOAS as a wider university offers to our students, and this is what we're currently offering. Microplacements is the first one that I'm going to talk about, and what microplacements are short work experiences that you have with a huge range of employers. We try to tailor these experiences to what you are interested in, and so a microplacement is a 2-week placement that will be done over summer. And that's really to help you get a sense of what a certain workplace is like. They are really unique because whereas an internship would usually be maybe 6 weeks to 3 months, because microplacements are 2 weeks, it's a short commitment from you. And more importantly than that, it just gives you an introduction to a workplace without having to be committed to using a lot of your summer holiday to gain that work experience. So it's a good way to try something out and just get a feel for a work environment with a small project. We work with a lot of employers to offer and advertise things like insight days and spring weeks. So this is similar to microplacements, but this would be with larger employers generally. And insight days and spring weeks are where an employer will invite a number of students into their workplace, whether it's for a single day or an evening, or whether it's a week such as reading week or around Easter, and give them either an insight with the chance to meet current employees, current people on the graduate scheme, and an opportunity to network and just ask questions about what the workplace is like. Or in the case of something like a spring week, similar to a microplacement, it might be 1 or 2 weeks of work experience, but in a similar vein to the insight days, it's really to give you an insight and a taste of what it's like to work for that organisation. Another thing that we really endorse is work shadowing. So we're currently doing some work with our alumni team who are working with past graduates from SOAS to try and give more opportunities for doing work shadowing to current students. This might mean, for example, that you spend 1 or 2 days with a previous graduate from SOAS in the workplace and just get an understanding of what their job is like with that sort of close contact with them. Work shadowing is not the same as work experience because there you would not be required to do much, if anything, in that time, but it's more the opportunity to kind of observe what the workplace is like, what the job is like, just get a feel of what might interest you, and also to help you network a bit with past graduates. So those are 3 of the other things that we're offering through our career service. A few other things that you can get involved with more widely in the Students' Union, and these fantastic experiences are things like sports clubs, student societies, and these can be just simply being a member and engaging with your peers, fellow students, through whatever activities the society or the clubs are doing. But you could also become more involved, get on the committee, do things like being a secretary, being a treasurer, potentially even president of a student society or a sports club, and get really involved and actually build skills without necessarily having to be in a workplace. These are fantastic ways of not just building skills and doing the careers side of things, but even just socializing, getting to know new sort of new people that you're studying with. So don't overlook what the Student Union offers, and also think about what the gain is for you in terms of those skills, in terms of those kind of relationship building opportunities. SOAS more widely offers things, roles such as student ambassador roles. So when we have open days, visit days, insight days, and we look to current students to help us promote SOAS as a university. And these are paid roles, and they're fantastic opportunities if you want to get involved with what SOAS is doing in an external facing environment. There's also things like student bloggers and the student press who talk about their experiences at SOAS. And again, this is a great way of building some experience for yourself without a long-term commitment, and particularly not having to dedicate a lot of hours to it, but just being regular in blogging or regular in providing news for the student press. Some of the degree programs that we have also have year abroad opportunities, and that gives you the chance to travel abroad and spend a semester or a year studying in a different country. Obviously, SOAS, as a really international and diverse university, has links with a lot of universities across the world. So the opportunities that come with traveling and studying in a foreign country are not simply the fact that you are abroad, but you get to understand the culture a bit more, develop your language skills, and from an employer's perspective, being able to show that you've got experience of working, studying, and living internationally, developing a bit more of an understanding of the culture where you have travelled, that gives them a really positive sense of what you might be willing to take on in a role, how ambitious you are. So traveling and doing something like a year abroad, if that's open to you on your degree, are fantastic ways of building experience, getting new skills, but also putting yourself in a brand new and quite unfamiliar environment at times. The last thing is volunteering opportunities. So volunteering in a similar way to internships or part-time work is a fantastic way to build work experience up. Most importantly with volunteering, I think, is the commitment that you do need to give. Very often you'll have projects that are either quite small but intensive, so you might do a week of volunteering, or you might do the opposite, which is you might do 2 or 3 hours a week, but for a year or two. Volunteering might seem like it's a bit of a softer experience than doing an internship or part-time work, but to be honest, the kind of experiences that you get quite often from volunteering are very unique. They can be quite challenging in terms of the client group that you're working with, the kind of skills that you're using and how you're using them. So volunteering is actually a fantastic way of pushing yourself and putting yourself into quite an unknown environment at times. And the kind of opportunities that come through volunteering are not things that you will always see in an internship or part-time work. So have a look at that if you are interested in working in something like international development. Look at local charities and just see how you can get involved in what is on offer in London and through SOAS. So bringing this background to how we as a career service support students, there's 5 key areas, and the first is employers that we have on campus. Now, quite often we will have employers running small workshops, giving talks about things like their graduate schemes, maybe running advice sessions like CV advice sessions. And this is an opportunity not just to have an employer on campus, but actually for you to directly meet people, to ask them questions that you're interested in, to get a bit more of an insight and understanding of what their offer is, and find out the information that you want to find out. Quite often when employers have got information on the website, sometimes the details that you want to know are not there. So being able to have an employer in person on campus and giving you the opportunity to speak with them directly will help you significantly in finding out the things that you don't necessarily know about them. We run our application and recruitment appointments daily, so every day there will be an afternoon worth of appointments, and these can be things like having your CV or your covering letter reviewed, having a bit of advice on how you might look at planning out your career a bit, and the kind of questions that you might have if you are going to an assessment centre or an interview. So the short appointments that we have are really valuable to just allow us to support students in the application process, helping them to make career decisions, or if they are going for an interview, then thinking about how they're preparing for it. Practice interviews are put separately because these are longer appointments. So if you have got an interview or an assessment centre coming up, you can book in for a longer appointment with us, and we can help you prepare for the interview. And that might be as simple as doing a mock interview, or it might be having a bit more of a discussion with you if it is, for example, your first interview. So what do you understand about going into an interview? How do you dress? What kind of questions are they going to ask you? What kind of questions do you want to ask them? The practice interview, being a longer appointment, just gives us a bit more time to work with you, just to help you prepare that a little bit more. Aside from that, we also offer career discussions. So quite often we'll have students booking these appointments because they are studying a degree that's got such a range of options that they could then go on to pursue in terms of careers, that there's such a massive choice for them. And having somebody just to speak to, maybe bounce a few ideas off, gives them a bit of space to understand what it is that interests them from all of those choices. So having a career discussion is very useful for students, just to be able to have somebody to both listen to them and ask the kind of questions that they may not have thought of, to help them make those decisions. Finally, we do our skills and development workshops. So I talked a moment ago about having employees on campus, and they sometimes run things like CV workshops. Our career service, we also run a range of workshops that are helping students to develop their skills or their knowledge about industries or companies. And so we run these quite often during term time. And this is a great way to get information without having to go to a one-to-one appointment, but also to get a bit of peer support, because quite often a lot of students may not realise that the situation that they're in, the stage that they're at with their career journey, is where a number of other students are. And quite often the workshops just help our students to connect with one another and share tips, advice, and give each other a bit of support along the way. Just to recap on the information that I've given to you today. So I've talked through part-time work and internships, what our definitions of those are at SOAS, and how we help students to find opportunities. I've talked a little bit about the SOAS Career Service and the resources that we have in place to help students find those opportunities, and more importantly, how we then support students through that journey. So whether it is bringing employees onto campus, helping students through their application and preparing for interviews, that's a range of what we do in our career service today. And if you come to SOAS, that's what's going to be on offer to you. So thank you for your time.